Well, welcome to Speaking of Horses. I'm your host, Wayne Williams, and we're ready to go right here with some of the great stories from the horse industry. So join us as we get ready to go Speaking of Horses right here on this station. Hey again, Speaking of Horses, and we're here at the CHA International Conference. We're in Houghton, New York, Houghton College. Right now, one of the big supporters of CHA, Julie Goodnight. Julie, welcome.
Thank you.
Well, you've been a supporter of CHA for many years. Tell us about your involvement.
Well, actually, probably about 30 years ago is when I first got involved with CHA, and I was a riding instructor, horse trainer, ran a riding program, a boarding facility, just a typical horse trainer. And I started a girls' horse riding camp, and I felt like I needed some sort of credential because I was taking people's children and taking responsibility for them. And I thought, well, this thing's going to go a lot better if I have some sort of credential to back me up. So I started looking at all the different instructor certification programs. There aren't very many in this country. There's just a few. Now I think there's just 2. At that time there were 3 or 4. I looked at all of the certification programs and I chose CHA for a few really important reasons. One is that in CHA certification, you can come into one certification clinic and you can leave at the level of certification that you can demonstrate proficiency in. In other words, you don't have to first become a level 1 instructor, then become a level 2 instructor and move up the ladder. So for someone like myself, who already had a lot of teaching experience and a lot of riding ability, I was able to get the highest level of certification on my first clinic. So that was attractive to me. The other thing that was attractive is that it's both English and Western. And I love the philosophy of CHA that no matter that we don't care what techniques you teach, as long as they're safe, fun, and effective. And so that's what CHA clinics are about, showing that you can keep riders safe, they can have a good time, and they can learn something. And so I was really attracted to all of that, and that's how I ended up with CHA. And I went to my first certification clinic, and I did achieve the highest level of certification. And when I walked away from there, I thought I would never be involved with CHA any more than that because I just came to get the piece of paper. But what happened was something I never expected. First of all, I was very enamored of my clinic instructors. They were much older and much wiser than me, and I felt like I had so much to learn from them. Secondly, they identified me as a potential clinic instructor, and so they just sucked me right into the organization. And so the very next year, I was teaching certification clinics myself. 2 years later, I was actually working for the organization. I worked for CHA for about 10 years as their program director, overseeing all the certifications. Eventually, I got to a point in my career where I had to step away from that much involvement, but since that time, I've been the spokesperson for CHA. So I'm still very involved with the organization, always attend the conferences here, and I love to share the good work that the organization does with everyone and anyone who will listen.
Well, I do. I've been covering 4 or 5 of these conventions now, but you're always there no matter where. We're in a beautiful part of the country, Houghton, New York, which is western New York, mountainous, beautiful. You never know you're in New York if you just think of the city. But it's kind of out of the way here, and here you are,
Well, it took me all day to get here yesterday. I left at 5 o'clock in the morning. I got here at about 6 o'clock at night. After a 3-hour drive, let's see, a 2-hour flight followed by a 1-hour flight followed by an hour-and-a-half drive just to get here for one day. But this is a beautiful part of the country, and you're right that when you say to people I'm going to New York, they always picture New York City.
Yeah.
But upstate New York is so vastly different than what most people think of.
And actually, we're in the state of New York, but we're darn near 400 miles east of New York City. I mean, this is you're almost Pennsylvania. You're almost Erie, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
So it's, it's a part of the New York you don't think about.
Yeah.
But
Very
it's
rural.
very rural, very beautiful, and everybody just thinks New York City. It's like when they think Illinois, they think Chicago. But anyway, you're right. The nice thing about CHA is it's always safe for the rider, it's safe for the horse, and it's fun. And it doesn't matter your discipline, you know. Well, Julie, it's nice to talk to you. How do people get a hold of you? JulieGoodnight.com. Right.
Everything you need to know about me is there. We have all our online training programs and, of course, equipment and videos and all of that at JulieGoodnight.com. We've got a podcast, comes out monthly. It's called Ride On with Julie Goodnight. And, monthly blog. I don't know how I do it all.
I know.
I have good people that work for me.
Julie, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Stay with us. We're going around the CHA convention here on Speaking of Horses. Hey, we at Speaking of Horses invite you to join us as we bring you many, many programs over the next few months, from retired racehorse makeover programs to horse rescue operations to therapeutic riding operations. Anything that benefits the horse, the rider, any discipline, any wonderful project. So we want you to join us right here on Speaking of Horses. We got some really good stuff coming up. And of course, you can always check out all of the other stuff we do, video as well, at speakingofhorses.com on our website. In the meantime, thanks for joining us here on this radio station. And we're going to bring you a lot more of Speaking of Horses. Hey, speaking of horses, we're here at CHA Convention in Houghton, New York, Houghton College. Teddy Franke is my guest. Now, Teddy, you've been associated with CHA for quite a few years. You're out of Oregon, and you do a lot of video and YouTube work for them.
Yeah, you know, we've been running a YouTube channel for a little over a year now. It's called Live Equestrian, and it really just features people and horses in different events, and the idea is just celebrating the horse. You know, it brings us all together, and it's something that people from across disciplines and ideas and their horsemanship can kind of get together on. And so we just enjoy celebrating that and sharing just people.
Well, you know, we've done some talking with other people here, Bob for one, that, you know, 99% of what you do with a horse has nothing to do with the breed of horse.
Absolutely.
Or discipline.
Yeah.
It's all horses and what you do to be with them, take care of them, handle them. That last 1% is when you single out what your discipline is, what your breed is. So most of it's the same, regardless of, you know, whether it's donkey, burro, all the way up to $200,000 warm bled for eventing. It doesn't matter. You have a love of a horse or an equine, or you wouldn't have them.
Yeah, a horse is a horse, and you know, the principles are the same. If you get the principles right, it doesn't really matter your discipline or even your methodology. You can build methods up on the spot if you understand the principles of horsemanship, and you do things that are meaningful to the horse, not to the human. And I think that's where people maybe get things backwards a little bit, is they do things that are meaningful for the human. But if they can kind of understand that we're doing this, you know, the horses are serving us. The reality of it is they're serving us. But we can sure make that a pleasant experience for them. And when they find that it's a pleasant experience, then they willingly serve us. Not only that, they find a lot of joy in that. And so that's one of the exciting things about really pursuing horsemanship, is learning how to create a good experience for your horse, and then they give so much back to you in return.
That's true. And you know, an interesting quote I saw the other day, and I cannot remember who it was by. It was on Facebook, on the internet, but this one I believe to be true. But it basically said, "My horses have taught me a tremendous amount. Very little of it had to do with horses themselves. It has to do with all of, you know, basically what he's saying is all the other life's lessons that they've taught him." So, well, Teddy, keep up the good work with YouTube.
Absolutely.
And for CHA.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you. This is Speaking of Horses.
Thing. It's a different title.
Hey, speaking of horses, CHA International Convention or Conference. We are in Houghton, New York, Houghton College. The CEO for the CHA, Christy Landwehr, is my guest. So, Christy, welcome.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it, Wayne.
Tell us a little bit about CHA and this year's convention here in New York.
Sure will. So we're one of the only horse conferences out there where you get to ride horses, which I think is really cool. So we always end up going to a host site that has really quality school horses and tack and those types of things so that all of our speakers can have the people ride during their sessions. So we had a full day yesterday, hotel-based. Today and tomorrow is all arena-based. Certified Horsemanship Association has been around 52 years. We were 1967 was our foundation. We have certified roughly 30,000 people at this point, both equine facility managers as well as instructors. And we, at any given time, have about 3,500 that are active and current with us. We're in all 50 states and almost every province in Canada.
Yeah, and you got somebody here from. Your furthest away was from where?
Yeah, actually, she went to Houghton College as a student, so it's a little bit cheating.
Oh, okay.
She got certified after this program, and then she ended up in East Africa running the horsemanship program, and she came back for a visit. But we have two from Canada, we have California, we have Oregon, so they definitely come from all over.
I was going to say, yeah. So it's quite a conference now. How many years have you done this conference?
The conference has gone on for almost 30 years now, so way before my time. I'm much younger than that, so way before my time. But yes, it's been about 30 years that we've actually done it.
Well, I've been coming 2 or 3, 4 years in a row now, and it's always been a lot of fun, a lot of good people, and of course the organization does some great things to promote good, safe horsemanship.
That is our purpose. So our why statement is that CHA instructors and all equine professionals certified by us change lives through safe experiences with horses. So as some of you might know, over in Europe, whether it's Great Britain or Germany, it's required by federal law that all equine professionals, whether you're a farrier, a trainer, an instructor, get certified by the government or accredited by the government for their facility. Okay, we don't do that here. It's a strictly voluntary organization here in the United States. It's voluntary to go through our program. Nobody's making you, but it does give you that next level of expertise. You're saying, I voluntarily chose to have a third-party entity evaluate my skills. And I think that's huge.
It is. It is. Well, Christy, it's a great conference. Thanks for joining us. And stay with us. We're going around the CHA International Convention 2019, Houghton College, Houghton, New York. And believe me, when you think of New York, if you just think of New York City, you haven't seen the countryside here. We're about an hour and a half south of Buffalo, New York, in the hills. It's gorgeous. Christy, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, that's a look around the CHA International Convention, meeting some of the people. Thanks for joining us here on the radio show, Speaking of Horses. Well, that's our show. I'm your host, Wayne Williams. Speaking of Horses, we'll be back next week with a brand new show. Or join us at speakingofhorses.com.